She wasn't stealing, she wasn't causing trouble. She was simply hungry. Every single day, she cooked meals worth thousands of dollars, feasts she would never taste. Every single day, she watched plates get scraped into the trash while her own stomach stayed empty. But the one evening she thought no one was watching, he walked through that door. What happened in that moment didn't just reveal who he was as a man, it exposed something far deeper, something this world still refuses to talk about. This is her story, and it will stay with you long after it's over. Her name was Rosa, and if you passed her on the street, you would never guess the weight she carried. Every morning, before the sun had fully risen, Rosa was already inside the mansion, polishing floors that gleamed like mirrors, arranging flowers she could never afford, preparing rooms that would never be hers to rest in. She moved through that house like a ghost, quiet, invisible, efficient. Rosa had worked for the Harrington household for 6 years. 6 years of yes sir, no ma'am, and thank you for the opportunity. 6 years of arriving before everyone woke up and leaving after everyone slept. She sent every spare dollar back home, to her mother, to her 2 children who called her on Sundays and asked when she was coming back. Soon, she always said, soon. The Harrington estate sat at the top of Maplewood Hill, the kind of neighborhood where the lawns were greener than anywhere else, and the silence felt expensive. Mr. Harrington, the man who owned it all, was rarely home. He traveled for business, closed deals worth more than Rosa would earn in 10 lifetimes, and moved through the world like a man who had never once been told no. To him, the house ran itself. He never thought about who scrubbed the grout at 6 a.m. or who ironed his shirts the night before a flight. Rosa knew her place. She had been reminded of it subtly, coldly, more times than she could count. But hunger has a way of making you forget the rules. And on that particular evening, after a 12-hour shift with nothing but water in her stomach, she made one small, human mistake. She didn't know he was already home.
The kitchen was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Rosa stood at the counter, her hands trembling slightly as she peeled back the foil on a plate of last night's dinner. Roasted chicken, potatoes, a dinner roll on the side. Food that was hours away from being thrown out. Food that no one had touched. Food that, in that quiet moment, felt like the only kindness the world had offered her all day. She told herself it wasn't wrong. She told herself she had earned this. 12 hours on her feet, scrubbing, folding, carrying, serving. She had fed this family for 6 years. Surely one cold plate of leftovers wasn't too much to ask. She had just taken the first bite when she heard it. The front door. Her heart stopped. Mr. Harrington never came home on Thursdays. He was supposed to be in Chicago until Friday evening. She had personally packed his travel bag 2 days ago. But there he was, rolling his suitcase through the marble hallway, jacket loosened, phone pressed to his ear. He was laughing at something, loud and easy, the way men laugh when the world belongs to them. Rosa didn't move. She couldn't. He rounded the corner into the kitchen and stopped. The laughter died. For a long moment, he just stared at her, at the plate in her hands, at the fork halfway to her mouth, at the look on her face that she couldn't hide fast enough. It wasn't guilt. It was something worse. It was the look of a woman who already knew how this moment would be interpreted, no matter what the truth was. What is this? His voice was low, controlled, but there was something underneath it, something cold. Rosa set the plate down carefully. "I'm sorry, Mr. Harrington. I hadn't eaten all day. It was going to be thrown away." "That's not the point." He cut her off without raising his voice. He didn't need to. "That is not your food. This is not your kitchen. You are here to work, not to help yourself to things that don't belong to you." Rosa felt the words land one by one, slow, heavy, like stones dropped into still water. She wanted to say, "I have worked in this house for 6 years. I have never taken a single thing that wasn't offered." She wanted to say, "I watched your family waste more food this week than my children will eat in a month." She wanted to say, "I am a human being and I am hungry." But she said none of it because Rosa knew what happened to women like her when they talked back to men like him. She had seen it. She had lived it. And so she stood there, quietly absorbing the humiliation, her eyes cast downward, her jaw tight. That's when his wife appeared in the doorway. She took one look at the scene, Rosa standing over the plate, her husband's face hard and unreadable, and made a decision in less than a second. "I think," Mrs. Harrington said slowly, "that we need to have a conversation about boundaries." Rosa looked up, and in that moment something cracked inside her. Not her composure, not her dignity, but the last thread of hope she had been quietly holding on to for 6 years. She was about to lose everything, and both of them knew it.
They fired her that night. No severance, no reference letter, no acknowledgement of 6 years of silent, faithful service. Just a white envelope slid across the kitchen counter. Her final week's pay, already calculated, as if they had been waiting for a reason. "We think it's best," Mrs. Harrington said, "if you find something more suited to you." Rosa didn't cry, not in front of them. She folded the envelope once, placed it in her pocket, and walked to the staff room to collect her things. A coat, a pair of spare shoes, a small photograph of her children she kept taped inside her locker door, smiling faces that had no idea their mother's world was collapsing in real time. She carried everything out in one trip. She didn't look back. But the real blow came 3 days later. Word travels fast in houses like theirs. A phone call here, a quiet word at a charity dinner there. And suddenly, every door Rosa knocked on was already closed. Agencies that had previously welcomed her application now offered polite, rehearsed apologies. One woman, without blinking, told her that the household she was applying to preferred staff who came highly recommended. Rosa understood exactly what that meant. She sat in a bus shelter on a Tuesday afternoon, her phone nearly dead, her savings enough for maybe 3 more weeks of rent. Around her, the city moved at full speed. People rushing, laughing, living. No one looked at her. No one stopped. And for the first time in 6 years, Rosa allowed herself to feel the full weight of it. Not just the job, not just the humiliation of that kitchen, but the system that had been designed quietly, deliberately, to make sure that a woman like her would always need a man like him more than he would ever need her. She looked down at her hands, the same hands that had kept that mansion spotless. The same hands that had cooked, cleaned, and cared for a family that saw her as furniture. And somewhere deep inside those hands, she felt something shift. She was done being invisible. Rosa didn't disappear. That's the part they didn't expect. She found a small domestic workers advocacy group in the city, a room full of women with stories that sounded different but felt exactly the same. Women who had been dismissed without cause, women who had been underpaid, overlooked, and quietly discarded the moment they became inconvenient. Women who had spent years making other people's lives beautiful while their own went unnoticed. For the first time in a long time, Rosa was seen. With the group's support, she filed a formal complaint against the Harrington household, not for the leftovers, not for the firing, but for 6 years of wage theft, unpaid overtime, and a pattern of treatment that had been carefully designed to keep her powerless. The case didn't make headlines. There was no viral moment, no public apology. But it was real, and it mattered. Mr. Harrington settled quietly, as men like him always do. Rosa used the settlement to bring her children to the city. She enrolled in a caretaking certification program. She started over, not from nothing, but from something, from the truth of who she had always been, even when the world refused to see it. But here's what stays with you long after Rosa's story ends. She did everything right. She worked hard. She stayed quiet. She followed every unspoken rule that society places on people who look like her. And it still wasn't enough. Because the problem was never her behavior. The problem was a system that decided her hunger was a crime, while the people who let her go hungry faced no consequences at all. Rosa's story is not rare. It is repeating right now in mansions, offices, hospitals, and courtrooms all over the world. So the real question isn't what the Harringtons did wrong. The real question is, how many Rosas are out there right now quietly absorbing what they should never have to carry, simply because no one is watching? Share the story, because visibility is where change begins.